Most people look at Gielinor and see a world at peace. Although the God Wars took thousands of years of slaughter, gods and their armies tearing apart the land, it eventually ground to a halt. Not because anyone won, or because the gods made peace. It was simply because of the Edicts of Guthix that created a magical ceasefire. The edicts were a hard prohibition on godly interference, enforced by the will of the one god who looked at what had been done to this world and decided enough. However, ceasefires are not endings, rather pauses. And in Gielinor right now, in the year we are living in, there are at least 3 active conflicts that never actually resolved. Festering wounds, the world keeps reopening. 3 situations where the timer on chaos has simply paused. Not stopped, paused. Gather round for this Gielinorian history lesson, but prepare yourself. We're now entering the active crime scenes. Let's start in the south, in the Feldip Hills, in the home of the ogres. If you've walked through this region, you may have encountered Gielinor, the ogre burial grounds. It's sacred land, and the place where ogres leave their dead with ceremony and respect, a tradition that stretches back through their entire civilization. Except right now, Gielinor is not functioning as a burial ground. Look around for a second. There is something deeply wrong with these ogres. This is an outbreak zone. According to what we learned during the Zoga Flesh Eaters quest, something has gone catastrophically wrong beneath the soil of Gielinor. The dead are not staying dead, and the ogres who were buried there have reanimated as disturbing creatures called Zogas and Skogas, 2 distinct stages of the same affliction. You may think this is just another ghost story, but it starts to become something far more disturbing. These ogres are contagious, and if you enter combat with these creatures, it carries a disease mechanic. This means the affliction passes on directly to anyone who gets too close. The disease reduces a random skill by up to 10 levels, and it does so repeatedly every minute or so until treated, and it is spreading through the burial ground, through everything that moves within it. So how did this all start? Well, the investigation within Zoga Flesh Eaters traces the source of the outbreak to a specific coffin in the burial ground, one containing a black prism artifact. The reanimation radiates from that point, but the prism did not place itself there. Follow the chain backward, and you reach a man, a renegade human wizard named Sithik Ince, operating out of a guest house in Ynil. Sithik used a courier, a figure named Brental Varn, confirmed by the Dragon Inn bartender in Ynil, to have introduced the prism into the burial ground. This is a deliberate chain of delivery, a consciously constructed operation. But here is the detail that reframes everything. When the player searches Sithik's room, they find 2 books. One is a necromancy book, which is expected given the evidence. The other is a book of Ham. Ham is Humans Against Monsters, which is a human supremacist organization that views non-human races as a threat to be eliminated. Sithik presents as a rogue academic, but he also holds an ideology that makes him view what he did to Gielinor as a form of pest control. And consider what the necromancy actually produced. When the player descends into the Gielinor dungeon and follows the outbreak to its source, they come across Slashbash, a level 111 undead orc. This is a larger, more powerful creature than a common ogre. Whatever Sithik's prism was meant to animate, Slashbash is a result. But the thing about Slashbash is that he's not a mindless zombie shambling in a pit. He can fight, he drains prayer, he hits from range, but most importantly, he seems aware. And so the player defeats Slashbash. The quest has an ending, Grish gives you his thanks, and the pits are arguably stabilized. But Sithik Ince is not destroyed. He is instead transformed into an ogre by the Wizard Guild's intervention, serving as a sort of poetic punishment rather than an execution. The black prism is recovered and can even be sold. This artifact that reanimated an entire burial ground becomes available for purchase. And what happened to the Zogas, you ask? Well, they're still there. The barricades remain, and the dungeon still open. Ogres still die in the Feldip Hills, and Gielinor still receives them. The weapon was fired, the perpetrator was ashamed, but not stopped, and so the burial ground keeps filling up. Now let's talk about one of the most mundane seeming mechanics in the entire game, but But when you look at the lore behind it, it is probably one of the most quietly horrifying situations ever recorded. You guessed it. Rune crafting. You take rune essence, you bring it to an altar, you make runes, you sell them or use them, you move on. Completely unremarkable, right? Except for what you were walking through to do it. The Abyss was opened in the year 169 of the 5th Age by the Zamorak Magical Institute, the ZMI. Zamorakian mages who had been locked out of Saradominus-controlled rune production and needed their own supply. They punctured a hole through to a space that granted direct access to every runic altar on the planet. No talismans and with zero travel. It is one entry point, allowing for infinite reach. On paper, a logistical breakthrough. In reality, they had drilled into a corpse. The Abyss is not a dimension, nor is it a membrane between worlds. The area that players enter through is likely the stomach, or possibly the heart. They are the remains of an unfathomably large Chthonian demon named Hostilius, a creature so vast that its corpse contains functional geography, with an outer section and inner section, with passages and rifts. This is an entire traversable space built inside something that was once very much alive, and arguably still could be. Every rune crafter who uses the Abyss is passing through the interior of a rotting god-tier demon. This is one of the reasons why the outer ring of the Abyss is hostile. Abyssal walkers, abyssal guardians, and leeches, these creatures that attack anyone who enters, are all part of the environment that punishes mere intrusion. Prayer points are drained to 0 the moment you arrive. Players are immediately marked with a skull. The corpse of Hostilius does not welcome visitors. Fight through the outer ring and you reach the inner side, where the rifts to the altars are, and where, notably, it is quiet. So quiet that you might even think it's safe. A ZMI initiate floats at the center, maintaining the breach, repairing the pouches that runecrafters use to carry more essence through. The ZMI has a permanent operative stationed inside the body of a decaying demon, keeping the wound open. Now go further still, and the southern edge of the outer ring, there is a small opening of a sort of passage into a deeper space called the Abyssal Nexus. Although this is not the stomach, this is somewhere else inside Hostilius entirely, and this is where the Abyssal Sire chose to wait. During the God Wars, a Zamorakian soldier, known only as the Overseer, was sent into the Abyss alongside its party, seeking potential allies for Zamorak. They became trapped. All of the Overseer's party eventually died, leaving them alone. Well, not entirely. The Abyssal Sires, ancient and strategic, constructed the Nexus specifically to sustain themselves in deep stasis, engineered hibernation inside the body of a demon, outlasting a war that reshaped the world above them. When the ZMI opened the Abyss in the year 169, and adventurers began passing through, the Overseer saw its opportunity. It made a deal: help me and I will give you something truly powerful, a great weapon. Players entered the Nexus, killed the Abyssal Sire on the Overseer's behalf, and collected the pieces it needed. Upon receiving the final piece, the Overseer revealed the arrangement for what it was. See, it had used human greed, the desire for a powerful weapon to harvest the power of the Sires it had been imprisoned alongside. With the power absorbed, it declared it had what it needed to leave, to reach the surface, and to come to Gielinor. Its parting words, depending on how the player responded, either a farewell or a promise to meet you on the battlefield. Let's recap. A Zamorakian organization drilled into the corpse of an ancient demon to bypass a rune supply chain. Their breach created the conditions for a creature trapped inside for thousands of years to manipulate adventurers into freeing it. That creature is now loose on the way to Gielinor, having promised to return. The breach is still open. The ZMI initiate is still floating at the center of the inner ring, maintaining it. Runecrafters are still passing through Hostilius's remains every day, killing the creatures that live inside it, chasing those abyssal drops. The war here has no declaration, no treaty, no uniforms. It has a corpse being used as a highway, and something that escaped through it, and it told us it was coming back. Somewhere in the God Wars, the exact date unknown, a civilization called the Old Ones began to die out. The cause of their extinction is unconfirmed. What is confirmed is what they did in response. They tried to cheat death through soul transference, moving consciousness from a dying body to a new one. The experiments appeared to work. Then they attempted to perform the ritual on themselves at a site southwest of Mount Quidamortum. Like most great experiments though, it went very wrong, catastrophically wrong. What they created instead was none other than the Strangler, a vicious parasite that spreads through bites, scratches, and spores, locks its hosts in a state between life and death, and grants them unnatural strength and durability in exchange for their autonomy. The Strangler is also believed to operate as a hive mind, disturb one tendril, and the infected across a wide area investigate. The Old Ones who survived their own accident tried to leave something behind. With the help of human and dwarf refugees, they began constructing Mokayotl, an archive to preserve their knowledge. But a demonic creature disturbed during construction stopped them. The remaining Old Ones sacrificed themselves to save the workers. The archive was never finished, and the parasite, known today as the Strangler, survived. The Strangler's most documented host is Vardorvis, a vampire executioner who passed through the Stranglewood during the Third Age. His men disturbed the plants, and so he was infected. When he was decapitated in battle, his body kept moving. A vampire, a creature with supernatural resilience and immunity to conventional weapons, meant that although he was infected and had his natural immunities overridden by the parasite, Vardorvis still functions today, headless, axe-wielding, running at speed. The Strangler has been sustaining a decapitated vampire for thousands of years. Like all parasites, it is forever seeking hosts. People who ventured into the Stranglewood never returned, instead joining the Horde. Shazian guards sent to investigate are confirmed among the infected. What appears to be a weaker variant of the Strangler has been identified in the Stalker Den, geographically separated from the Stranglewood, suggesting the parasite is either spreading or has already spread beyond its origin point. In Auburn-Vale, people are still going missing. Children were dragged into caves by strange creatures. The quest confirms these caves connect to the Strangler's presence in the region. Despite its malicious hold on whoever enters, there is a partial cure that exists. Argean berries and corbel herbs mixed into a serum can prevent infection in a host not yet exposed, but it cannot cure the already infected. The Old Ones created the Strangler trying to survive their own extinction. It outlived them by thousands of years, survived the God Wars, survived the Third Age, and is now spreading into populated territory. There is no eradication plan. The Stranglewood is still there, forever trying to take hold of whomever it can reach, forever building its horrifying horde. And the people of Zaya nearby, well, they have simply learned to not go in. And there you have it, 3 situations. Jigig, a necromantic outbreak suppressed, not cured, inside the burial ground of every ogre warrior who ever died in the Feldip Hills. The Abyss, the corpse of an ancient demon being used as a rune-crafting shortcut, with something that escaped through it promising to return. The Stranglewood, a parasite created by a dying civilization thousands of years ago, still spreading, still building its horde, with no eradication plan in sight. None of these are resolved. They are background problems until they aren't. Until some threshold is crossed, some final body is reanimated, some final rift is torn, some final village goes quiet. And then what happens? It won't be considered old lore anymore. While Gielinor survived the God Wars because of the Edicts of Guthix, we must remember there is no god standing between all of this. There is only time. Time is the one resource nobody thought to protect. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for more content. And a reminder that I have brand new channel memberships available now if you're interested in supporting what I'm doing here. Goodbye.